Ukraine's 3,000-kilometer Flamingo missiles begin $3.6 billion strike that Russia cannot stop. Today, Ukraine enters a new stage of long-range warfare as its domestically produced Flamingo cruise missiles, combined with high-impact UAV operations and a shifting naval strategy, indicate growing economic and military strain on Russia, estimated by analysts at roughly $3.6 billion in cumulative impact. This figure reflects the expanding reach of Ukrainian weapons, the growing vulnerability of Russia's oil and gas network, and the escalating tension across the Black Sea. With Ukraine now preparing mass production of its longest-range missile and reshaping maritime security across an entire region, analysts warn that the next phase of the conflict may redefine the strategic balance. Now, the story begins from the earliest developments. At 7:14 a.m., the first reports emerged after Ukrainian company Firepoint delivered a new batch of its latest domestically engineered Flamingo long-range cruise missiles to the Ukrainian armed forces. Associated Press journalist Yefim Lukatsky publicly confirmed the transfer and highlighted the expanding role of Firepoint across the Ukrainian defense sector. The company, known not only for cruise missiles but also for multiple UAV platforms, has produced the FP-1 drone series that now accounts for more than half of all Ukrainian strikes on Russian military and strategic assets. Ukrainian soldiers report these drones are in consistently high demand because they allow for deep strike operations without exposing manned aircraft. Lukatsky released new photographs of the Flamingo missile, noting that even in still images, the weapon's structural design and aerodynamic shaping communicate both range and payload capacity. By 8:02 a.m., analysts confirmed the basic parameters of the Flamingo, despite much of its performance profile remaining classified. The missile carries a warhead weighing more than 1,000 kilograms and can travel roughly 3,000 kilometers, making it the single longest-range weapon Ukraine has ever fielded. For comparison, the US Tomahawk cruise missile family typically ranges from 1,600 to 2,500 kilometers, depending on the variant, meaning Ukraine has unexpectedly entered a class of strategic reach traditionally dominated by global powers. Media sources claim the Flamingo may exceed the Tomahawk in certain operational categories, though the specifics remain withheld for security reasons. Unofficial reports suggest that the Ukrainian armed forces first used the Flamingo against Russian strategic targets in the spring of 2025, but no footage or imagery has been released to confirm the exact nature of those early strikes. By 9:11 a.m., Ukrainian leadership clarified that the weapon was already being used in limited operations. President Volodymyr Zelensky later confirmed that Flamingo missiles were deployed, but not yet in serial production. Mass production is expected to begin in December or early 2026, though the process remains extremely difficult due to Russia's continual airstrikes on Ukrainian industrial sites. Because the missile uses solid fuel, a resource requiring specialized manufacturing conditions, Firepoint plans to construct a production plant abroad to ensure consistent supply and protect the project from Russian attacks. Ukrainian defense planners assess that stable production of solid fuel engines would allow Ukraine to conduct sustained deep-range missions, targeting Russia's critical military and economic nodes with far greater frequency. At 10:25 a.m., military aviation expert Roman Svitan detailed where the Flamingo's extended reach could be applied. He explained that Ukraine's current operational UAVs, with ranges between 500 and 700 kilometers, are capable of hitting targets as far as the Volga region. Drones with ranges of 1,500 to 2,000 kilometers enable strikes deeper into the Urals. But once Flamingo missiles, capable of approximately 3,000 kilometers, enter mass production, entirely new categories of targets become reachable. According to Svitan, these would include Yamal gas network crossing points, long-range pipelines, and major oil refineries, such as the Taimyr and Surgut complexes. He emphasized that striking these components would allow Ukraine to reach and significantly degrade Russia's oil industry, and potentially render key segments inoperable, a capability he describes as strategically transformative. He further stated that Russia's gas industry could be shut down once Ukraine reaches the Yamal Cross, since it represents a core structural choke point in Russia's export infrastructure. By 11:48 a.m., Svitan expanded on the systemic nature of Russia's fuel distribution system. Russia's logistics are highly centralized, with key export terminals clustered in the European portion of the country, locations such as Novorossiysk, Tuapse, Ust-Luga, and Primorsk. He argued that precision strikes on these facilities could create not merely tactical disruption, but the possibility of potentially neutralize Russia's export capacity. According to his estimate, if Ukraine gains enough Flamingo-class missiles and uses them consistently, Russia's Petroleum Svitan assessed that Russia's export capacity could be severely reduced, potentially approaching minimal functional levels if strikes continue as early as next year. This projection mirrors the strategic intent behind Ukraine's campaign since August 2025, during which Kyiv has systematically targeted oil refineries and energy infrastructure. These strikes have already led to fuel shortages inside Russia, affecting both civilian and military mobility. At 12:37 p.m., Svitan summarized Ukraine's broader strategy: to deprive the Kremlin of foreign currency earnings and degrade its logistical ability to sustain military operations. Without export income and without fuel distribution networks, Russia would struggle to support its army, aviation units, and heavy industry. He reiterated that, if uninterrupted, the campaign could erase the Russian oil industry as an industry within a year. This assessment reflects a growing consensus among Ukrainian defense analysts that long-range missile production, particularly of Flamingo-class weapons, will define Ukraine's ability to impose strategic costs far beyond the front line. By early afternoon, at 1:56 p.m., attention shifted to the evolving situation in the Black Sea. According to Andriy Klimenko, head of the monitoring group at the Institute for Black Sea Strategic Studies, the region is entering a new period of escalation that may influence shipping security across all Black Sea littoral states. He noted that Russia continues persistent strikes on the Odessa region, including Danube-side port infrastructure, while Ukrainian logistics continue to function with more than 200 merchant vessels entering and leaving the region each month. In parallel, Russia is carrying out sabotage operations on islands in the Dnipro River while intensively shelling settlements in the Kherson area, particularly those on the left bank and around Hola Priston. At 2:41 p.m., Ukrainian maritime strategy appeared to be shifting as well. Instead of simply defending shipping corridors, Ukrainian forces are now systematically targeting Russian ports, refineries, air defense installations, and logistical hubs in occupied Crimea. Klimenko describes this approach as a blend of traditional concepts and emerging innovation. Ukraine is striking oil refineries, coastal port equipment, and military staging areas, while simultaneously dismantling Russian air defense systems, radar stations, and airfields in Crimea. These actions reduce Russia's ability to project naval and aerial power while expanding Ukraine's freedom of movement at sea. At 3:09 p.m., Klimenko recalled the recent series of attacks on unflagged tankers and the damage inflicted upon CPC loading infrastructure. Such strikes widened the conflict's maritime footprint, extending it beyond Ukrainian-Russian confrontation into broader regional security concerns. Parallel drone incidents in Poland and the Baltic states have further demonstrated that the war's technological reach is no longer confined to immediate battle zones. Klimenko warned that Black Sea states seeking stability must now account for the reality that the conflict shapes the safety and legality of maritime operations across the entire region. By 3:52 p.m., Klimenko revisited a declaration Russia issued in July 2023, when Moscow announced that all ships headed to Ukrainian ports could be considered potential carriers of military cargo. Ukraine responded with a symmetrical statement, asserting that ships bound for Russian or occupation-controlled ports could likewise be treated as potential military carriers. These declarations frame the current legal reality at sea. According to Flamingo, the Black Sea has again become a significant factor in global politics, with the ongoing war exerting influence on international law, regional trade, and future maritime policy. At 4:28 p.m., Ukrainian officials addressed a separate issue regarding naval drones after Romania claimed a Ukrainian Sea Baby drone had drifted into its territorial waters. The Security Service of Ukraine denied the allegation, explaining that no Ukrainian drone was lost, and that Romanian divers had neutralized a different object. This incident reflects the heightened sensitivity surrounding unmanned systems in coastal environments, where attribution, intent, and legality often come into question. By this stage of the day, Ukrainian analysts estimated that Russia's cumulative strategic losses, largely tied to oil and gas infrastructure degradation, refinery shutdowns, port disruptions, and damage to Black Sea military assets, accounted for roughly $3.6 billion in operational and economic impact. Of this total, approximately $1.1 billion reflected refinery-related disruptions, $800 million stemmed from pipeline vulnerabilities, $900 million represented Black Sea logistical and naval damage, and the remainder derived from secondary economic effects across Russia's export infrastructure. Ukraine is increasingly shaping outcomes not only on the battlefield, but across Russia's entire economic ecosystem. As evening approached, the cumulative pattern became clear. The introduction of the Flamingo missile is not simply an upgrade to Ukraine's long-range arsenal. It marks the beginning of a new strategic phase. With the ability to conduct deep penetration strikes across 3,000 kilometers, Ukraine now possesses tools capable of applying long-range pressure, contingent on continued production and operational conditions on Russia's key industrial sectors, especially the oil and gas network that sustains its military and finances its wartime economy. Parallel developments in the Black Sea further weaken Russia's capacity to project power and maintain maritime control. Ukraine's tactical innovations, from FP-1 drones to Flamingo missiles, are gradually eroding the core logistical and industrial systems supporting Russia's war effort. Today ends with Ukraine positioned to impose even greater pressure as Flamingo production prepares to scale and Black Sea operations expand in scope. Should Ukraine continue striking Russia's fuel terminals, refineries, and maritime assets, while enhancing its deep-range missile capabilities, Russia's economic and strategic stability may face unprecedented strain. The unfolding campaign has already inflicted an estimated $3.6 billion in losses on the Kremlin's vital infrastructure. With these factors combined, future operations will determine how Ukraine expands this new phase of long-range warfare, and how Russia will attempt to respond. Share your thoughts with us, and subscribe to more videos like this.